Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Galactic Core podcast. We are here for another week of ranting, raving, and reviewing. Oh shit! No, that's not my show. We're just here to have a good old chat about the week's events, both in Andor, and we've got a brand new film to discuss with Marvel's Thunderbolts, having been released a couple of days ago as well. Of course, I always have an absolutely amazing, fantastic guest to discuss with me. To be fair, he agreed to come on very last minute. Bless him. It's nice and late where he is, but everybody, you know that face, you know that merch, you've seen this guy before. He's absolutely welcome on the show any fucking time he wants, but please welcome Mr. Rant, Leigh from Lights Camera Rant.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be here, and yeah, that intro sounded really familiar, and it's like something I say nearly every single week, so it sounds really familiar. But now, man, you tell me the time and the place, and I will freaking be there. I'm always happy to come back on the show, and not to mention, like as I said to you before we start recording, I've smashed out 3 episodes of Andor. I have a full mug of Jameson right here to chat about that and Thunderbolts, and to really dive into it. And it's always good to be here.
Bless you, buddy, for coming on. I know it's nice and late for you down in Australia. We've got a lot to chat about, to be fair, this week. Not just Andor, not just Marvel, but some activities you've been up to this week. I mean, it's tied into Marvel, but we'll get to that in a bit, to be fair. Yeah, Andor, I think, is the place to start. I mean, first and foremost, how's it going with your show?
It's going good, man. It's going good. We have probably about 4 reviews backed up at the moment. Caught Sinners in the past week. Caught up with a new French film, as well as another film called The Island. So we're a bit backed up at the moment.
What, The Island? Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor, yeah?
No, this is actually another movie called The Island, but it's actually it's called The Island, and in some other countries it's called Heart something. So it has like 2 different titles at the moment. But which I discovered, if you do type in The Island into IMDb, there is about 7 movies called The Island. So caught up a little bit on that. So going good, man. We're organizing new merch for our European tour.
Woo!
Going up, which I've got some fantastic people I'll be seeing over there. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. But it's going good, man. And I can't wait to get into Thunderbolts. Like, goddamn, like that is a punch in the teeth this week.
Just tell everyone quickly where we can find your podcast social media.
As always, man, you can always look. Lights Camera Rant is the podcast. My name is Mr. Rant, and you can always find us on Instagram, Spotify, Twitter, X, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere there is a social media profile, and wherever you get your local podcast from. And we're on Grindr as well. We make sure that we tune for everybody.
Not Tinder, no.
No, not Tinder. No, didn't get much traction on that. Got more traction on Grindr, surprisingly.
Fair. No Hinge, nothing, no.
No. God. Hinge, plenty of fish.
What about Blue Sky?
No, I haven't. I can't remember. Like, did that blow up and die, or it's still going?
Kind of a bit like Threads in a way.
Yeah.
Because I didn't join the Threads hype where it was hyped up for like 3 days and then died a death pretty much straight away, even though Instagram still push it on everyone's profile. But yeah, I signed up for Blue Sky, and I think I've done I'm pretty bad. I did like 2 posts, and then I keep forgetting it's actually there.
I haven't signed up to Blue Sky. I forget. I think that came out in like Threads, and I was like, Threads is just easier because it's connected to Instagram. And I don't mind Threads. I must say there's a lot less nudity on Threads than there is on X, and I get less political tweets coming up in my feed.
We know what Leigh follows on X now.
No, I don't. I just here you go. Here's a suggestion. I'm like,
oh yeah,
I didn't. Nope,
suggestion based on what you're already following. Yeah.
No. I just typed in Thunderbolts Florence Pugh. I don't know why.
Mrs. Rant, I'd be checking your husband's follow list.
No.
Fair. But yeah, make sure you're jumping on to Lights Camera Rant. Social media is podcasts. and tune in for his fantastic non-stop episodes. As always, as you can see at the bottom there, you can follow Galactic Core Podcast, YouTube, Twitch,
Do
TikTok,
it.
Instagram. Find it across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your jam. Make sure you're tuned in for any of the upcoming episodes. Catch all previous episodes as well. It is May the 4th weekend, to be fair, since we're chatting Andor. May the 4th be
That's
with
right.
you all. You can catch my May the 4th special from last year with Dave from Lights Camera Rant. It was a fantastic episode. We chatted about our favourite scenes in all of Star Wars, some fantastic stuff on there. A couple of weeks ago, big second anniversary episode. Leigh was there along with Why So Serious, Clan Mandalorian, and Joey from Krypton to Alderaan. It was an amazing episode. Lots of fun, lots of laughter. Worth checking out if you just want to see 5 podcasts together having a fucking laugh. So
Yeah, that was a great time, man. Thank you again.
It was. You don't have to keep thanking me, mate, to be fair. It's like my wife thanking me every time I cook dinner. It's like you don't really need to say it. It's just it's automatic. It's obligatory. So
yeah.
But we are going to start off with Andor,
Yes.
episodes 4 to 6. So this is a year on from last week's episodes. Give me your thoughts first and foremost.
Look, I am enjoying the fact that they are pumping out the 3 episodes a week, because I think I said to you when we spoke about it is that I really enjoyed Andor the first season, but it just felt like a slog with 18 episodes.
It was 12 last season.
Oh, 12, sorry, 12 episodes. I don't know. It just felt like week after week after week. I think I got to the point where I'm like, I was at my show and I was just a bit like, and we're talking about Andor. Once again, we're talking about Andor this week. So I am enjoying the 3 episode dump. It is done like a little bit of a darn shame, and it will be done a little bit more quicker. And I'm enjoying going back into this world. I'm enjoying the political thriller, and like as we're talking about, like the time jumps aren't really bothering me. Like I do understand they are on a mission to cover everything with Rebels that intertwines with that, and obviously they have mentioned that this will kick off right at the end of going into Rogue One.
Yeah, it's been a weird journey so far. I'm not particularly enjoying Andor so far, to be honest.
Which I can't believe. I can't believe.
I'm the biggest Star Wars fucking nerd ever, and normally I absolutely love any Star Wars stuff they put out there. I just want to.
I know this man also liked the Acolyte for some reason.
I didn't think it was the worst thing that I've seen, to be fair. So, I mean, we're not going to get into it because this happens every time anyone brings up any Star Wars. Acolyte gets mentioned and it ends up with a massive diversion. But I've just not been pulled in by this season of Andor so far. Last week's 3 episodes, like you said, they're trying to like cover 4 years, and yeah, it's great. 3 episodes a week, giving it like a bit of a lengthy story, but they're focused on like a few days for each of those years. So you're not getting a broader story of what's happened during that year. You're just getting what's happened in these 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, we're getting
And
a pocket jump, basically.
And it feels like too many side missions, too much side quests going on, and a lot of story that it's a hard one because you can't really know until the end of the series how important all of it is and how much relevance it all has. But having viewed them individually, last week's episode seemed like an awful lot of filler. I said I thought all 3 episodes could have been condensed down into 1 episode, essentially.
Were you telling me the jungle? The jungle was the best bit.
Well,
I must have been
was pointless.
Yeah, I felt like I did feel like the jungle thing. I was like, all right, this could have just been like wrapped up.
I mean, that was only there just to show you when he takes off at the end that they were on Yavin 4. That was the only point to it, really. Apart from the fact that maybe when they name dropped the leader, that Cassian had said that they were supplying them for their battles with the Empire or whatever. So maybe just goes to show that they've got their hands out, reaching across the place, trying to help like little pockets of rebels here and there, uprising and starting stuff against the Empire. That's the only thing I could think of that was all for. Apart from that, it seemed pointless. You could cut the wedding stuff in half; it wouldn't make any difference. I didn't need to see the scene between Dedra, Cyril, and Cyril's mum. I didn't need to see that dinner; it was pointless.
Well, what are you talking about? Like the massive character development right there. Not to mention, we get to see Mon Mothma lose her effing mind getting drunk at a party.
yeah, getting White Girl wasted was all good. That was fun, and
Hmm.
to me that was the only good bit of it because it just showed the pressure she's under and the fact that she basically gave up her daughter to like save or fund further the rebellion. She's trying to deal with everything with Luthen, her husband who she doesn't really want to be with, whilst her then friend Tay or whatever or cousin or whoever he was. Is basically got killed at the end of the episode because
Yeah,
he was trying to extort her.
I did see a meme. It was like from The Simpsons, and it was his car, and it was like, I don't think he's coming back.
It should just be that one with the dumb kid in the back going, haha, I'm in danger.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's pretty much how that should have been.
So yeah, last week I wasn't thrilled by it, and then we jump forward another year, so we don't really see the repercussions of anything that happened in last week's episode. We just move on another year. So we get to these episodes, and just to sort of a little bit of a recap, we see Bix still having a bit of PTSD, but this time there's an added bit of another guy in it that Andor had to kill because he saw Bix's face, and it causes friction between them because she's now feeling guilty about it all. We see obviously a bit more of what's going on with the stress of like Luthen is basically just going, look, this is all or nothing. We're fighting the Empire or we're dead. I don't care about your personal relationships. I don't care about anything else. It's all about this.
Yeah, just a quick refresher. Until Andor, Luthen didn't exist in the Star Wars, did he?
No, he's not been in anything else.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
This is all he's been in, to be fair.
Yeah.
And obviously we see that that Cyril has been sort of implanted as a sort of like ISB spy almost. And reporting back to Dedra and her boss on what's going on and trying to have the the Gorham front approaching him to join and be like an Imperial informant, so to speak.
Yeah, I'd also like to say that there is no way in hell you could get me to be an informant on a planet called Gorman where they have massive spiders. I'd be like, nah, let the planet burn.
Though. Fuck me. I mean, come on.
I know where we live. Everything I walk out that door goes to kill me. I'm like, and spiders are like this big and they'll kill you. But the spiders apparently, on Gorman are a lot bigger. I'm like, nah, burn the planet.
Yeah, my wife said, "Are you adding Gorman to the no-fly list like you've added Australia?" I was like, "Absolutely, yeah."
Oh, 100%. And when the guys like giving would you like the souvenir of the spiders? I'd be like, no.
If I wake up and see that shadow in the middle of the night, I'm fucking running.
I know. I'd be like, nah.
But apparently, Amy over on YouTube is like, I'd live in Gorman. Well, yeah, To be fair, she'd be one of the ones that have been massacred by Tarkin, so it's fine. She wouldn't have been around for the spiders. It's all good.
I also do like. I must admit, I do like the fact that Gorman does feel very like French. Obviously, French, and like this is pretty much Paris, if you will.
So we've got all that going on. We've got obviously what seems to be the all the new senators being initiated with their oaths in the Senate, and then apparently they've all got to attend the parties for them all. So it's non-stop for a few days. It felt like when Mon Mothma's husband said, "Oh, we've got to fit a year of insincerity into 3 days." It felt like a bit of a stab at their episodes and the fact that they're trying to put 1 year into 3 episodes.
I know.
But we get a little side bit as well with Saw Gerrera.
Yes.
And this felt absolutely not needed to me as well. In the fact that we have this little side bit. We find out that Saw Gerrera and his band of miscreants are all Rhydonian huffing highballers. And that, whilst it explains a little bit more about Saw Gerrera's character in this time period, let's just focus on this bit for a minute, because this kind of annoyed me in the fact that this made me feel like they put Saw Gerrera across as an absolute fucking nut job in these scenes, in this little clip, and I don't feel that quite fits with Saw. In terms of he's an extremist, in terms of wanting to wipe out obviously the Empire and not have them in control of the galaxy, and he's an extremist in some of his views, but this just put him way out there. And I just felt like it quite fit in.
Yeah, I agree, but he did say a line more towards the third episode where he's like, it was along the lines of like basically you have to be nuts because we're in rebellion. A revolution, you have to be crazy, and I feel like that was justified there. I was like, yeah,
But not so. I mean, how nuts were the rest of the people in the rebellion? Like the genuine rebellion, not his little band of people. But how
no, they
nuts were
were
the rest of them to like really do that? I mean, none of them were doing that, were they? So the
they were
actual Rebel
organized.
Alliance were exactly. So it just felt like it was really out of place and really weird that they threw this in. At some point, they've got to start getting him. I know this was like 3 years before Rogue One, but they've got to start getting him towards the character that we then next see in the timeline in Rebels. In the fact that we see him, I think it was like in season 3 or 4 of Rebels, which is supposed to end about a year before Rogue One. So effectively, in the next episode or in the next week's episodes, which is going to be 2BBY, that should then match up with the Rebels timeline where we see him. And by then he's already lost all of his hair, maybe from all the huffing, to be fair, if he does it again for another year solid. But he doesn't seem as nuts in Rebels as he did here. So
No, and he didn't seem nuts in Rogue One either.
no, like again, very like on edge and stuff like that. But from the way that he saw the state of his body and stuff, he's probably obviously been through a lot. He's got to lose a foot in that time. He ends up on like using a ventilator every now and again. So it just felt a bit out of place that they made him a bit too extreme here. And stuff. Calling Rhydonian his sister. Which if you watch the Clone Wars, obviously his sister dies in there. But to name drop calling someone his sister when it's the Rhydonian of fuel, when you know what's happened to his sister, is a bit fucking wacky as well.
He looks like a very cooked human being.
Yeah.
In this. Yeah, and the
still
variation
on the ball because he managed to find an Imperial spy in his ranks.
He did.
Enough, so.
He did have a spy. Even though I sound like I'm having a stroke every time I talk.
So again, this just added to how I was feeling about Andor so far, and the fact that this doesn't seem connected yet, and it seems rogue in a way. But anyway, so we've got what's going on between sort of Andor and Bix here. So we find out throughout this that Bix is taking some sort of drug or whatever to keep herself calmed a bit more in the nighttime. She claims it's for sleep, but every time she takes it, she's just staring out the window.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Yeah. And obviously Andor is sent off to Gorman to assess the Gorman front, and he makes what seems like a very quick decision about the fact that he says they're not ready. They're obviously amateurs; they just don't know what they're doing, and they've waited too long to make any sort of play. And Luthen's not happy with him because he wants him to start thinking like a leader rather than just like a soldier or a thief. And Andor's not happy with this, to be fair. So behind their back, he sends in Cinta and Vel to go and obviously walk through with them their plan of attacking the Imperial transports for the weapons and stuff like that. At the same point, we've got the ISB that because the Gorman front have been chatting with Cyril, he's obviously informed the plan, and they decide to let it happen. So they want the rebels to keep going at them, so that gives them an excuse to put their foot down on Gorman then and justify what they're about to do. Which is, as we know, that everyone knows they're building an armory right in the fucking city centre.
Yeah.
So it's this weird thing now where sort of you've got one side of the Gorman front being almost like guided and controlled a little bit in the way by the early rebellion leaders and Luthen and the others, versus the ISB that are trying to play them off to then enable what they want to do, which is take control of the planet for their resources. So I can see everything coming together on that front in terms of the rebellion versus the Empire and planting the seeds there and using Gorman as the catalyst for the bigger bit of it. And we know that that's got to come to fruit probably in the next episode or so, because
I would say so. Yeah,
we see in Rebels that when Mon Mothma flees the Senate. And the Ghost crew take her to safety, she makes the big speech and calls out for all the rebel cells to come together to form the rebellion. And it's mentioned in her speech about the Gorman massacre, so that kind of has to happen really in the next sort of next week's episodes to sort of bring that in line with everything. So we know it's coming, and it's good to see. That's the only good thing about that last episode for me. Episode 6 brought it all together on that front, and we're starting to see the shape of everything of like the early or the Luthen and the rebellion on that side, putting everything together. through different pockets of planets versus the Empire, who are wanting to stamp their foot and reign supreme. So, what were you feeling about those particular bits coming together there, and the whole Gorman front and rebellion versus Empire?
Oh, I do like I like the fact that we're nearly it's I can't remember the right word for it. It's almost like three pieces, like a circle following each other. The fact that it's the Gorman, then the Luthen's team following the Gormans, and then it's the IBA following the Gormans and the Rebels. All like this whole full circle for this all to basically just implode, which is going to happen, and we know it's going to happen. Which I am liking, and I know, like Cyril. It's funny. He's a character that I'm like you're annoying, but at the same time, I feel for you because you're just trying to do the right thing. You're trying to do the right thing for the Empire, and you're on the wrong side. And that's one of the dynamics I do like, and it's probably the only thing I like about The Last Jedi is that sometimes it doesn't matter what side you're on. People who are just casual people living on the Empire just think, I actually do like them. I actually do like what they're doing. I am fine with it. I do want to support them because you're in this little pocket, unlike everybody else in the galaxy that's like, nah, you. And I do feel them, and I must admit I do like the when he comes back and they're like, we have an hour. And just like it's just dead face with Dedra just going, turn off the lights.
I don't need to see that pasty white awkward sex going on. So
no, I don't. But it's just thought it was funny. He's like, what? But no, I do like how it's all coming together, and I do think it's gonna. I always said it's gonna implode basically in the next 3 episodes. In saying that, you are right. So we've got those 3 going on, and then we've got Andor and Bix going on with what they're doing. Then we've got Luthen and I forgot the chick's name that's helping her. Claire. Which I don't know. These last 3 episodes, she's been seeming more ruthless than what Luthen is. I'm like, I feel like she would kill anybody straight up to just get the job done.
I mean, let's focus on just them for a minute and the party that was going on that they attended. So, I mean, I don't get why they focused so much on the fact that they bugged an artifact that was in the dude's
museum.
Collection, museum, whatever, and the fact they made such a big deal out of the fact they had to go and retrieve it. That made such a big part of their part in that last episode. But it's like it's a side story quest that we didn't need. What impact has that had? Because we're going to forget about that by next week because it's going to be a year on. What's the point of it? So
so you could get Mon Mothma, you could get Tarkin.
Yeah, I mean
Tarkin,
Krennic.
All in that one
them all
scene.
In the room, and it was good to have a little scene with all them on because when you've got Claire, you've got Luthen, like you said, you've got Mon Mothma, you've got Krennic, you've got them all in the room together, facing off, and it's quite interesting to see that happen, and just obviously Krennic and Mon Mothma arguing between the two of them.
Yeah,
but again, it was just a side quest that didn't really need to be shown.
No,
you don't need to see it. I mean, it's just hilarious though when Mon Mothma was like, "Oh, nice to see you outside of the witness stand for once."
Yeah.
I mean, good to see the interaction, but again, it just seemed so not needed. It was just a filler bit that we didn't really need to have in there for any reason. What was the point? Are we going to see any consequence from the fact that if there'd have been a microphone in there in a year's time? No, we're not going to see anything from that next week. So
no, and at the same time, like that scene's happening when we get the probably the most action that we have seen in a little bit at the same time, and throw onto that is with Bix and Andor killing the dude that puts on a device in season 1.
So I think that was because obviously Luthen went to chat to Bix whilst Andor was away and he wasn't happy with that. And obviously Luthen picks up on the fact that Bix is dosing herself or whatever. So I think he basically gives them that little mission to go and kill this dude as a way to appease them a little bit and get them back on side because they were starting to drift away. And I think Luthen realizes what Andor can be, but and he obviously gives him that little switch again. He's so wrapped up in in the person next to him or the emotion of everything. He doesn't see that this should be all about the bigger picture or nothing. Which is for Luthen, it's unreal. And he even says to Claire at one point, he's like, I can't keep track of everything anymore. We've seeded
We're
so
drowning.
many things. We've got drowning. We've got devices here. We've got things going on over there. We've got informants over there. And it's just so much now that he's seeded since he started doing this that he's losing control of it all a little bit. And I think you do see a little bit of stress in him, but he needs people like Andor on his side still because they're good agents for him.
I was gonna say in that scene too, it showed the fact that Claire is very much in control and very strategist.
Strategist, yeah.
Yeah, like she's very much her head on with every piece of the pie at the moment is going through her head.
Yeah, she's very key to him at the moment. So, and so I think that he gives them the mission to go and find the Doctor and kill him off, basically, just to appease them and get them a little bit back on side. So I can understand that. That's absolutely fine. I mean, we end the episode sort of. That's how we ended the episode. But obviously, the end of the action on Gorman sees them obviously stealing the weapons. They made a big point of like when they were doing the setup chat beforehand that only Vel and Cinta were to have weapons, that they needed to follow orders if they were going to do this because they were inexperienced, too eager, and weren't really listening. And the fact that then obviously one of the dickheads has his gun on him when a local and he tries to stop a local. They have a quick fight. Shot was fired, and we find out that Cinta was killed off. Which obviously, hits Vel hard because they just got back together after a year apart.
Yes.
And as we chat before, we were denied a great lovers scene. They cut that out early.
Come on, Star Wars. Come on. I'm sure that's on the cutting room floor.
Don't want to see the pasty white sex between Cyril and Dedra, but give us a bit more action instead. I suppose if you can't show us one, you're not going to show us the other, just out of like fairness, I suppose, balance. So
hey, just like the Force.
Amy with an absolute fair point because we love this line. She said, "Calibrate your enthusiasm" is the most British line ever from the ISB boss when he's chatting to two dudes, and he's just like, "It's an honour, sir." And he's like, "Calibrate your enthusiasm." Yeah, that's very, very British, very stoic. Like, just calm your shit down, son. Don't need that level of excitement. Just asking to go to a party. Shut up.
Yes.
Calibrate your enthusiasm is a great way to fucking say it. But yeah, so and obviously Val basically dressing the guy down was
that was.
Don't you dare cry. You've got. She made him feel guilty as fuck, and then is like, "Don't you dare cry." And I'm like, you can't guilt trip the guy that badly and then not expect him to be upset over it.
If there was more swearing in Star Wars, I feel like that was probably the perfect time for her to be like, "Don't be a little bitch. Don't be like this to my partner, who's should have died basically a warrior's death." Which I feel bad because we really only got like she was a good character in the first season, and I'm like, oh, we've only had 2 scenes with you, essentially, and you're gone.
But you know why I love that death though is, first and foremost, everyone knows I love having a good few deaths in a series or film. There's not enough main characters get killed off, even though she's not really a main character. But too many films, franchises, TV series, whatever, too many main characters make it through to the end of wars and stuff like that without being killed off. Not all of them are that good at surviving or staying alive or fighting their way through everything. So this should show quite a few deaths along the way to show not everyone's going to make it through, especially when Luthen just keeps on drumming into everyone that this is, we either beat them or we die. Those are the only 2 options here. He kept saying it and he kept repeating it, especially in these episodes. He's like, it's all or nothing, and it's literally we defeat the Empire or we die. That's it. That's all it is. And so to show people having random deaths and not warrior deaths, and the fact that sometimes people get killed in shit ways, or people get killed off easily and or by surprise, and stuff. I think it needs to have that because everyone either getting a warrior's death or making it through to the end is just unrealistic. It's what was so great about the end of Rogue One. It's like, okay, you can say maybe they had a warrior's death and they were martyrs at the end of it, or they became martyrs because of it, but not everyone makes it through. That's why I love they made them rewrite the ending, because originally they were all supposed to survive, and then they got told no. basically because we can't afford to answer questions of why weren't they around in the original trilogy when these heroes got the Death Star plans. So you need to kill them off for two reasons: one, they shouldn't make it out, and two, we can't be asked to explain why they're not around in the original trilogy.
No, and that's exactly right. And I think when they first announced Andor, which I'm pretty sure I said in the first episode too when I reviewed it, was uh, don't expect anyone to live. Like everyone's on the chopping board going into this. Like literally the main guy that we're following, Andor, we have his death already. So and the fact that none of these characters have popped up in anything else on the chopping board. Like Bix is gonna probably die. Luthen's
I
probably gonna
I
die.
expect most of this cast to die either next week and the week after.
Yeah.
So I expect Vel, I expect Dedra and Cyril and Luthen to all die, and
Yep.
Bix, yeah, and Bix as
Yep.
well. I expect all of them to die by the end of this series. Maybe not Cyril. You can get away that he's a civilian and he can just fuck off somewhere and hide in a hole with his mum forever.
Oh my god, I hope the mum dies.
Again, pointless conversations with the mum just to see how annoying she is. Don't need that.
Oh, well, with the spider. Oh, look at this spider.
Oh, I'm
Look
gonna
at
name
that.
him Cyril.
It's Cyril. Thanks. Like, just like, thanks, mum. Appreciate it. Because,
Yeah.
I can talk to it. I can do this. I'm like, you're a horrible mum.
But yeah, for me so far, these 6 episodes, episode 6 has been the only one that I've really enjoyed because I felt like it started to build a bit more of the story. But this, to me, it's been too much side missions, too much pointless stuff that hasn't really looped in. When you're having a year time jump every week, it just seems like it hasn't quite connected the way I wanted it to, and it's bugged me a bit. And there's been just too much side stuff. They've made Saw seem a bit too weird for me so far. Um,
Mm.
it's a show called Andor. How much Andor have we actually really seen in action?
Not as much as the first season compared to this season. Or look, we've only this as surprising as it is, we only have 2 weeks left of Andor.
I know they got a lot. I mean, okay, it's 6 episodes. That's a lot to cover still.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, there's time jump each time. They're condensing everything down,
Mm.
and really, the only real proper bit of Andor that we've seen. Okay, we saw a little bit of him in action when he's obviously at the start of last week when he's stealing the tie, the tie Avenger, and obviously fighting to get free from the people that were holding him. But this time around, the only real action you got to see with him is when he goes to Gorman, and obviously he's using his expertise to determine whether they're worth the trouble or not. That
Uh,
was the only espionage bit of Andor that we really get.
as a was it Varian Sky?
Yeah.
Varian Sky. Yeah, he was very fashionable. He was very fashionable on the planet. I was like, wow, let's go respect the drip.
And I loved that when the woman goes to meet him in the cafe, he immediately obviously they have the conversation at the end when he's about to walk away, and he just tells her straight like, you guys need to work on your shit. There's 2 guys following me. They're far too obvious. Just send them away.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
basically lays it down straight away that he knows what he's doing better than they do.
Yeah,
And
I didn't expect to see you tonight.
and that just seemed to me like the only worthy bit of Andor himself that we got in these 3 episodes.
Yeah, and question, like I might have missed this. Why did Tarkin kill so many Gormans?
From what I could tell from what they said in the episode is that he wanted to land in like the main square or something, and people gathered and wouldn't let him because maybe they didn't want the Empire there. Because from what they said, it happened like 16 years ago, and
Yeah.
17 years ago is when the Republic fell and the Empire started. So it's maybe within the first year of the Empire being
Yeah.
official. And I'm guessing maybe they just didn't want the Empire there or something, and like because loads of people gathered and because they wouldn't let him land, so maybe they just opened fire on them to basically lay down the law and go, look, we're in fucking charge here. If you're going to stop us from landing, we're just going to wipe you out instead. And so there was a massacre of what they said, like 500 people.
Something like that too. Yeah, that was the part I was just trying to figure out. I'm like, I couldn't remember like what sparked that for the fact Tarkin to do that.
Oh yeah, I guess it was just them refusing to let them land, and for him to want to come in and obviously take control, and then refusing it in a way, and so he just went, well, don't forget we can do this to you, and so he just took a bunch of them out, and that obviously has led to very grainy relations with the Empire ever since.
And it's
Obviously,
just
as they
getting
say,
worse.
Gorman's wealthy and it's financial and it's got resources. So
Well, yeah,
kind of
Luthen says that, and there's a part of me in the back of my mind is like, yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
well,
Wouldn't it?
I almost like Luthen's approach to most kids. He's trying to, as we said, he's trying to turn Andor into that sort of leader rather than just a thief or a soldier. Because he's like, you're thinking like a thief, and Andor's like, no, I'm thinking like a soldier. And he's like, you need to think like a leader, like because Luthen knows he's not going to make it all the way through this. It's becoming too much for him. He needs help, really. So yeah, I just hope we see more of Andor. To be fair, like this show was called Andor, and it's there's so much on everything else going on that I'm like, what the fuck's going on with Andor?
Yeah. Well, I hope we do, and I'm guessing I'm gonna probably say more in the last 3 episodes. We're gonna see K2S2 rock up.
So yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're gonna for sure.
At some point, because I was like, well, if I'm like, well, I'm guessing you won't pop up until the next 6 episodes, even though you were in the trailer.
Just to mention as well, we did see Bail Organa for 5 seconds. Obviously, when Mothra arrives to the party with her husband.
Yes, the recast.
They recast him. I know that obviously Jimmy Smits, they put out a statement saying Jimmy Smits was unfortunately filming elsewhere, and so he couldn't come for this.
Yeah.
Don't put the fucking scene in then. It was 5 seconds of time. We don't need to see Bail Organa for that. It was not needed. So Jimmy Smits has always said he's loved playing Senator Organa. He would do it every chance he gets. So, in a scene where it has no political significance, it has no significance to the rebellion, or no significance at all, you didn't even need him in that scene, just for a name drop was the only reason for it. So why, if he goes, I'm unavailable, why recast him just for the sake of it? It made me a little bit upset, as you can probably tell. Because I'm like, the guy loves playing it, and it was a pointless cameo for no reason at all.
That's what I mean. Like, why have the cameo without the person doing it? Because then when people do watch it, if you were the absolute casual fan, you for a split second you'd be like, "Who are you?"
It just annoyed me. I'm like, it was a worthless scene just for it. It was all for a name drop.
Oh, the party's pretty. You have fun in there. Have fun. See ya.
It just annoyed me. It just wasn't needed. So, yeah. Overall, 6 episodes of Andor in a halfway point. I'm not really enjoying it so far, which is so unusual for me. And you told me to have the balls to say it, so I'm going to say it. At this point, halfway over through a series, I've enjoyed The Acolyte more than I've enjoyed Andor.
God damn. Yeah, I can't believe it. And it's funny you say that because Andor is a better show than Acolyte from season 1.
Season 1 was amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree that season 2 has been a disappointment for me so far. I just can't grasp it. It's not cohesive. Too much side stuff going on. And they've got a lot of ground to cover in the next second half of this series. So.
They do. And that's the thing is, it's going to be very interesting to see these next 6 episodes if they can bring back, your approval. That's for one thing. Can they bring it back? And will it feel rushed leading up to Rogue One, or is it just gonna you're gonna feel like this is go time? This is we're going now. Like this is. Everything's full force. There's no time for filler. There's no time for slow down. It's just let's ride this wave straight to it.
Well, all we can do is wait and see, and I really do hope there's a little bit of
only 2 weeks to go.
Well, yeah, at least it's not like 6 weeks. We've got to wait it out. So that's the only thing about it, isn't it? So
yeah, I know.
Hey, let's see where we go from there. So
yeah.
Let's move on. So it is a Marvel review that we're doing next, but of course that means there's time for a very quick pointless game. So let's jump in for a very quick game of a MCU or real life you. So welcome back to the most pointless game in podcast history, MCU or real life you. Well, I'm going to give you an MCU actor. The character that they play, and then normally if you've got a podcast co-host, you co-host, or your actual real life partner. So Mr. Rant, you don't have a co-host, so it's going to be the lovely Mrs. Rant instead. So it's Thunderbolts. Let's make it Thunderbolt centric. So you played this game before. Let's go for it then, shall we? So Who would you? And you can obviously spend the day doing whatever you want: dinner, drinks, theme park, skydiving. You can go on missions with them, but you're completely safe. You're not going to get killed at all, so you can do what you want either way with them. Okay.
That's good
So
to know.
let's start off. First and foremost, would you rather spend the day with Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan, or Mrs. Rant?
Sebastian Stan. She'll understand. She'll understand.
He's an attractive man.
Well, I know it's Bucky. it's Bucky.
Yeah, but
Hey.
are you? But you'd rather spend it with the actor rather than the character.
No, with the character.
So you'd rather spend the day with Bucky Barnes rather?
Yeah.
You said Sebastian Stan.
Sorry, I would rather. I would rather with Bucky Barnes. Yep.
Yeah, that doesn't need any explaining. Bucky's amazing. He's got a lot to tell you, a lot of shit you've been through. You can do all sorts. You can go and have a bit of Asian food together, like as is in Falcon and Winter Soldier, or
Yes.
you can just go on a nice mission and just see what happens. So,
That's it. And that would take us anywhere.
absolutely fair. Okay, so that's one for the MCU character Bucky Barnes.
Yep.
Next, would you rather spend the day with Alexei Shostakov, the Red Guardian, David Harbour, the actor, or would you rather spend the day with Mrs. Rant?
The Guardian. Leigh wants Winter Soldier's powerful fist. I don't want him to put it in my dishwasher, that's for sure.
Well, I say you can always, whatever happens, you can always wash it afterwards. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true. I think Red Guardian, I think it would just be a really fun day. Just it would be a really fun day. And we can have Wheaties in the morning.
I think he'd be too much for me. He's so over the top. I wouldn't be able to cope with him for more than a few hours, to be fair. And then I'd be ditching him. I think so. Fair enough, Red Guardian. And then last choice out of the three: would you rather spend the day with Yelena Belova, Florence Pugh, or your lovely wife?
Mrs. Rant. I'll spend the day with Mrs. Rant.
Explain your reasoning.
Because I feel like she would get too much publicity wherever we go because she'll be with me. So I think it's best to just go with Mrs. Rant.
What about Yelena? Don't want to go on a few missions with her?
No, but no. Florence Pugh. Sorry, no, Elena, no. But Florence Pugh. Side note, probably the thing that would be cool is get her cooking, because she's like apparently a really good cook.
Yeah, I mean she's no award-winning retired chef, but she is a good cook.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. So but Mrs. Rant for that one.
Somebody doesn't want to annoy the wife.
No. Nope.
Fair enough. Okay, so fair enough. So we've gone with Bucky Barnes, Red Guardian, and then your wife are the three people that you'd spend the day with.
Bingo.
Okay, fair enough then. Well, that was it. There we go. Another pointless game of MCU or real life you. So, are you saying Mrs. Rant isn't a good cook? Is the question from the audience.
No. She's a great cook. She's a lot better than me, and everything she cooks is a lot better than what I can make.
Yeah, I don't think Amy's got any weight to comment on anyone being good or bad cooks, given her ability in the kitchen.
Oh, and here's a bus.
Oh no, we've been together a long time, and she's cooked twice, I think, in that time.
Fair enough.
And one of those was a sausage casserole on the slow cooker that got burnt. So I don't really think. Yeah, exactly. Like you pull that face, and I'll embarrass her on this comments. See, she says it's true. She knows it's true.
I was gonna say I didn't know it was possible to burn anything in a slow cooker.
See, yeah, my place is in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, you are the chef.
Well, yeah, I'm an award-winning retired chef, so that's exactly why I'm the one in the kitchen. It's no shame in saying that or admitting it. It's absolutely fine.
No, yeah.
I did think about once upon a time when I first started this podcast about like sort of reenacting or recooking things that you'd seen people eating in Marvel films and TV series, and then reviewing
Yeah.
what it was like. So, like when you see in Secret Invasion, Ben Mendelsohn's character, the Skrull, eating a cooked breakfast in a pub and stuff, and it was the worst cooked breakfast I've ever seen on TV. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on there?"
I think I remember you saying that too when we came and reviewed the show. I'm pretty sure you said that was
Yeah, I'm pretty
awful.
sure, yeah.
Actually, it's funny because I've seen this. I can't remember his name. There's an old guy on TikTok, and he makes the food from movies and TV shows and stuff. And he made the chicken from Minecraft,
Oh, okay.
like the cooked chicken when they do the lava and everything. And I must admit, the way he cooked it, I was a bit like, "Damn, that actually would taste pretty good. That tastes pretty good."
All right then. So Marvel's Thunderbolts released this week, the latest in the
Bingo.
Marvel series of Phase 5.
Yep.
Coming on, obviously pushing on towards as we get towards Doomsday next year.
Doomsday. Doomsday. Yep. This is
Doomsday.
the 36th entry into the MCU.
Damn, that's a lot. Good luck to any new starters in the MCU. We've got a lot to cover. This was a very special one for you, Leigh. Not because like the film is particularly special or anything like that, but tell us exactly what happened for you in this film.
No, this is very special for me because this is my very first Marvel premiere. Big shout out and thank you to Disney Australia, Marvel Australia, for inviting me to the premiere here in Melbourne. And I felt like I was literally on a cloud for the entire day. Nothing could break me on that day. It was so awesome. We got lanyards. There was the bike. There was the big Marvel sign. There was cocktails. There was free popcorn and everything. We got photos. And a part of me was like, yes, I've been to other premieres, which I'm very grateful for, very humble for. But just going to this, being in a Marvel one, was just that little bit of like, God, like you did it, you did it, you did it. Yeah. That's from starting the podcast in 2021. Seeing these premieres, seeing other people go to them and going, God, I wish I could do that. And then just staying with everybody else. And I've probably been looking back on the photos of it every day, just being, God damn. God, yeah, just God fucking damn.
I mean, big congratulations, buddy. Yeah, after 4 years of hard work, you got yourself invited to a Marvel premiere. I mean, it's only Australia, so it doesn't really count. No, I'm absolutely joking. It's not like it's Leicester Square over here where all the stars actually go to it. You know what I mean? No, I'm joking. Mate, it's a big deal. 4 years.
No, I know. I know.
You said you've been to other premieres. I think like Sony or Universal have invited you to some, and you get to go fairly regularly to those ones nowadays. But Marvel one's a big one. It means you're going to start going to a lot more Marvel ones, I think. So,
it's as much as I am excited to go to more of them. The funny thing is, the next one is the fact I'm going to be in Europe.
Well, when does Fantastic Four come out? Isn't it like is it like the?
It's July. I think we're going to be in Italy for it.
I was just wondering and just saying, if you can message them and say, you know what, I can't make the Australian one, but I do happen to be in Europe at that time. So if there's any European premieres going on that I happen to be in the country for, send me to that one instead.
I would love to do that. Absolutely love to do that. But yeah, I think we're going to be on Italy for it. But at the same time, I am going to absolutely grind, absolutely push, because I think my entire brain will be imploding if I would be humble enough to get an invite to the Avengers Doomsday premiere here in Melbourne. I think I would just be a grown man crying the entire time, and everyone look at me weird, like, why are you crying? I'm like, oh my God, it's an Avengers film.
It would be amazing, to be fair, for Doomsday, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's it. So no, that's happened this week, and yeah, it just and just seeing the level, seeing the other people there as well. And there's a photo that we posted on social media, which I keep looking at, and It's a photo of me in front of the Marvel sign, and I have my back turned. It says, arrive, rant, leave with the logo, and it's something that I would never thought I'd ever see is like me standing in front of that.
Get that put on a t-shirt, mate. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
But many congratulations, buddy. Amazing to get invited to such a thing.
thanks, man.
And not the worst film to get to watch at the end of it either.
No, that was probably the other better thing. I was like, all right, the premiere matched the movie. That's the best thing.
So quick sort of, full spoilers for anyone watching or listening. Obviously, if you've not seen it, I don't know why you're sticking around to listen to a review that's going to have spoilers if you've not seen it. But so basically, ragtag team of different heroes are pulled together. Basically, they were going to get, they obviously, Valentina is in the shit because her Sentry project yielded some deaths, and they were getting investigated, and she was going to get impeached, and she was basically getting rid of all the evidence, including putting together all of her agents in Yelena, John Walker, Ava Starr, who's Ghost, and Taskmaster to get incinerated. Taskmaster killed off almost instantly. We knew that was going to happen.
Look, that's I'm going to tell you right now. That's probably my only biggest gripe, which I did put on my Letterboxd review. Which if everyone does follow me on Mr. Rant Letterboxd. That is probably my own little. Well, there's other gripes, but that was my biggest gripe for the movie. I was a bit like, I was kind of wishing you would leave. I thought she was going to die when Sentry got all of his powers and he was in the suit. I thought she was going to be the first murdered person in that. I do wish she kind of lost because of her skill set, her being Taskmaster. I think that I just wish she lasted a bit longer.
I think early on when everyone worked out she was going to die in this film, it was going to happen early on. I didn't see her lasting very long, to be fair, but still brutal. Shot to the head, done and dusted. But they managed to escape. Also, along with Bob. Who's got some sort of powers, and they basically go through the film where Bob is then manipulated by Valentina into becoming Sentry, and the Thunderbolts think they're going to rescue her. Well, after they're basically taken down by Bucky as well. Bucky very quickly gave up being a congressman or senator, whatever he was, to get back into being a superhero. They go up against Sentry, who absolutely whoops their asses, because why wouldn't he? Because he's fucking unbelievable.
He's for everyone who doesn't know, basically Sentry is Marvel's Superman.
An enhanced version of Superman in a way, because he's got other powers that Superman doesn't. But in terms of indestructibility, flying, all that sort of stuff, yeah, absolutely. They get their asses whooped. And then Valentina, obviously, Sentry then turns on her. She's like, oh, for God's sake, presses the kill switch. That's when the Void appears, which is obviously the inside personality of Bob himself, of Sentry. He's obviously destroying stuff, and the Thunderbolts are in the streets saving people from them. And then they all, Yelena ends up stepping into the Void herself, and they all go in to rescue her. And they basically then essentially rescue Bob by telling him, he's not on his own, he's not alone, and rescue him from completely turning 100% into the Void and not being able to turn back. And Valentina has twisted the whole thing and basically announces them as the new Avengers. Which the money was on becoming that asterisk at the end, turning into the Dark Avengers, but the new Avengers is what we got instead.
Yes.
So, give me your thoughts then.
Look, this is, I kind of went in like it's essentially a sequel to Black Widow above all else. And I went into this going, okay, it's a Marvel movie. Let's see how this goes. I was kind of excited. This is looking to be the version of the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn's version of Suicide Squad going into this. And I was completely blown away. And no, I'm not saying as a Marvel fan is that I was under predictability. I'm like, okay, yes, they're gonna go fight a super being. They're getting their asses whooped, and they're gonna find a weakness, and they're gonna take him out, and it's gonna be a big CGI fight at the end. Similar to Captain America 4. But the twist that this took and the mission, if you strip it right back down, you take away all the glossy stuff, you take it all away, the fact that it's really about acceptance, your journey in life, your mental health, what it means to be in a team. And it really actually made me think of the line that Loki said in Loki season 1 that, everyone who's good isn't truly good, and who everyone is bad isn't truly bad.
Yeah, I mean, the film was definitely wanting to approach a more mature theme in terms of like darker themes like loneliness, depression, and a personal emptiness. So they managed to sort of address that, but they kept it light at the same time. So it's not like this wasn't like some psychological thriller where they dived really deeply into those things.
No.
Because they hinted at like Yelena's alcoholism as well, that she used to fill her void of loneliness and depression, but they didn't like really. It's not like this wasn't like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, for example, where they like to deep dive into that kind of thing.
No.
They managed to touch those subjects, but keep it light at the same time because it is a Marvel film after all, and there was comedic relief in there.
So good. The chemistry between the entire cast and just pulling back a little bit as well, is that the cast for this movie are all nearly C players. It's not on the same kind of level, but in the same level as Guardians of the Galaxy. Hey, here's a team. You barely know of them at all. And basically, this is a team, unless you're really diehard Marvel fans, like who's going to straight go, you remember Ghost, don't you? You remember Walker, don't you? You remember Elena, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think as of yet they've pulled them together as successfully as they did with Guardians. This is not taking away from the fact that this was a good film, but it hasn't made me cared a lot more for some of them as like you might do with the Guardians, for example. I mean, just quickly going through them. Obviously, Yelena, from Black Widow, and a little bit of action in Hawkeye as well, where she seemed to have accepted Natasha's death, but hasn't dealt with it, so to speak, or the hole that it left behind for her after getting her sister back.
Yeah, and Florence Pugh, she carries this entire film, being the lead actor into this, and showing the fact that she is so talented. And I'm not. So from one moment she's doing some small indie films, the next moment she's in Thunderbolts, and then another moment she's in Oppenheimer, and then next thing she's in Dune. Like, she's really picking the right projects that she's going into, and she's the
things like Dune, where it's not even a big role. It was it was a bit part role, to be fair, but you've got your name associated with it. You're in there for the brand. Fair play. I think that's the thing with some of the younger actors. I say younger actors, but the young adult actors coming through, is that they're not exactly necessarily waiting to be given the biggest role of their life every single time. They're like going, hey, if I get in with this, then it doesn't matter. My name's associated with them. My name goes on those credits. I'm getting paid for it anyway. So it's a game changer. And I think what refreshes me about it is that she's happy to do that. And then you've got someone like Timothée Chalamet that's like, he's like, I'm doing this because I want to be a legend in the game. I want my name to reverberate through generations like people before me. I'm not doing this to, get by or to do whatever. I want to do this to make it my name well known. And that's fair play. That's what you don't always get the acceptance that these young'uns are doing, is the fact that they're not doing this just for the sake of it. They're doing it to get their name associated and to make the most of it for themselves whilst doing things that they enjoy.
Oh, exactly. And Florence Pugh's filmography of what she's got so far is pretty good for her age. So far, like she's only 29. She's only in 29, and Dune, Oppenheimer, Black Widow. I think it's Midsummer and Little Woman have been one of her bests. Finding My Family, like she's got a good of both being indie and being blockbuster, and the fact that she's going to be in Avengers Doomsday.
I mean, we'll get to that because there's a post-credit scene to talk about at the end.
Oh, sorry. Side note, she's also going to be in Marvel Zombies. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, there's loads of people doing that to be fair, which is a project I'm actually looking forward to quite a bit because I enjoyed the Marvel Zombies episode of What If. Um, but yeah, so the character of Yelena though is someone that I've always thought another maybe controversial take. I've always thought the character itself was pretty mid. Like I don't think the character is exceptional that they're completely different to anything that's come before. It is just a remake of Black Widow. Or of Natasha's Black Widow anyway, because they want a new Black Widow going forward. So I've always thought the character herself, yep, she's charming, she's kind of funny, but she was always a mid character. I don't see her as an outstanding character, and my view hasn't changed after this, even though the
Oh,
performance in the film is good, definitely. But I don't see her character hasn't elevated above others for me in terms of my favourites list, if that makes sense. So.
mm.
One person that I think again was maybe underused in this film or not used in the right way, Bucky Barnes.
Oh, I don't know. Like you must
Well,
admit, like that scene when he takes him down
yeah,
in the limo scene, that is like Terminator 2 vibes.
I
That's
mean that's
Winter
classic Winter
Soldier.
Soldier stuff. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I've always said I always prefer the Winter Soldier over Bucky because of like the clinicalness, the way he just takes him down is brutal, and I kind of love that about the Winter Soldier or the MCU Winter Soldier. But you know, he when we leave him at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series, he had accepted Sam as being the new Captain America. He moved on from that. He decided the way for him to help now was not to go around killing leftover Hydra members. He was working through his PTSD. And he decided that becoming, you know, a politician and helping his constituents of Brooklyn that way was far better for him to do than being a superhero. And he gave that up in a fucking instant in this film. And that, to me, just didn't really speak to the journey that he was trying to go through. Some people said that they were disappointed that when they entered the void to try and save Yelena, that we didn't see any of Bucky's trauma. Because he's been through probably more trauma than anyone. But I counter that by saying he's had 3 films and a TV series to
Yeah.
work through his trauma. You didn't really need to see more of that.
No, and
Doesn't mean it's completely gone, but we didn't need to see him working through more of that.
no, we didn't, because he got that fantastic scene in Captain Winter Soldier where he's working at Wakanda, getting the
The post
phrase,
scene, yeah, where he
getting the
cried.
phase, the phrase out of his head, and that's I'm right there with you, man. Out of all the characters, he's the least one I need. Like we know his backstory, we know his
Yeah.
drama. We don't need to go down his road on that.
But
The people whose backstories we have seen are right, and technically, well, we didn't need to see Red Guardians either. Oh,
I mean,
his little thing. I would probably one little thing probably would want to see as Red Guardian would be him going from being a hero to him finding out that going into the prison, basically, that would be a good flashback to see.
I mean, yeah. So I think with Bucky, I question the realisticness of the way that they've formed his character over the last 15 years, and then for him to give that up in an instant to go back to being a hero with these people that he doesn't know. It's not like he's fighting alongside Cap and Sam and others. Is
No.
you know the ones that he's been with. These aren't the same people. He doesn't know these guys really. So I found that maybe not quite as in line with his character. You mentioned Red Guardian. I'm going to say this again out loud. I don't really like Red Guardian. I find
Why?
him
Why do you like Red Guardian?
It's just too over the top. It's just too much.
Why? Is it because we're the Thunderbolts?
The constant overreaction to everything, the constant everything does have to be a joke. And I said that in Black Widow. I didn't really like him in there. I just find the character, and especially in the What If episodes that he did with when it was him and Winter Soldier, it's just so over the top and ridiculous. And maybe that's what What If was about in a way. But I just find the character too much for my personal taste. I just can't align with it in terms of if he disappeared tomorrow from the MCU, I'd forget him in an instant. So
I think I'm excited for him being in Avengers Doomsday. I think he's going to be so funny amongst the rest of the team members.
maybe he has like Deadpool relief in a way, like not as extreme relief as like comic relief as Deadpool, but to me he is only there for comic relief and nothing else.
Yeah,
I don't see him being a better. Big shout out to Clam Mandalorian joining in the chat. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Just coincidentally, in 2 weeks' time, when Leigh does his finale review of episodes 10 to 12 of Andor, you'll find myself and Clan Mandalorian as guests
Yeah, yeah,
on Leigh's show. So make sure you're tuning in for that in a couple of weeks' time.
yeah. I have to make sure I get the best for the show that kills Acolyte. Like I gotta make sure I get the best on the show.
Oh dear. And moving swiftly on, we obviously got Ghost returning after,
Yeah.
we haven't seen her since Ant-Man 2,
Hmm.
which is fair. It makes sense that really that she'd become maybe a bit of a mercenary. Um,
Hmm.
didn't have a massive impact in this film, I think, but I didn't mind her in this film either. We don't see her obviously facing any trauma or anything like that, but she's like, hey, I've been in and out of labs since I was a kid. I have to wear
Yeah.
this suit to keep my body from disintegrating. So it's absolutely
Yeah, and
fine.
I think you yeah, I know. I know.
Pick the wrong person to mess with on the
Yeah.
acolyte.
I know. Yeah, no, you didn't need you didn't need the backstory on her because we got I feel like we got enough of that in um Ant-Man 2.
Yeah,
Like we
yeah,
got
fair.
enough of that. We didn't need for her. But no, I think she blended with the team really well.
Yeah, I thought she was a decent member of the team. Like I said, she fit in well enough. I don't see any problem with her being in there. And she did a good enough job. Her character, like I said, no
Mm,
objection to the character of becoming like a mercenary. That's high, especially with her powers and abilities. That's maybe expected. So
mm.
yeah, no problem with that one at all. John Walker rejected Captain America.
I was just to
This doesn't
clarify,
endear
I
me.
was a just to clarify, I was America. I was the official Captain America for a period of time.
It's just reading off his things that he's achieved.
Yeah.
Um, it was cringe. But I mean, I don't know whether this was supposed to endear you more to the character and like repair some of the damage of what he went through. But I felt better about him at the end of the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series because he kind of comes out of it the other side and helps them at the end, saving
Mm,
like the politicians or whatever. I felt better about him at the end of that film than I did at the end of this film. So this film,
mm.
he acted more like a dick still, and didn't seem. We learn a bit more of the fact that he ended up after his downfall pushing away his wife and child, or his
Yes.
wife left with his child, and you kind of deserved it to be fair because you were acting like a prick. So
Yeah, because it was dick. I don't like that's the thing is like I didn't. I must admit, I'm pretty much the same. I didn't. He still is a dick, but he wants to do the right thing. I did like the scene how he's like, he turned my shield into a taco.
yeah, that was good. I mean, it is talked about in this film as well. Where they say, "Oh, the serum enhances what you are inside of you." So you give the serum to Steve Rogers, you end up with the best version of Captain America because everything about Steve Rogers was amplified. The same with Red Skull. You give him the serum, amplified the evil inside of him. And I guess it's the same with John Walker. You give him the serum, it amplifies the bit of an egotistical dickhead that he is on the inside. So he does want to do the right thing because he was a soldier and he wants to do the right thing and come to the right outcome, but he still has to be a prick about it 90% of the time.
Yes, and I do like it. Does I think it was Elaine that did bring it up to him? Like you killed someone in broad daylight in front of a whole crowd of people. And he's like, oh, there's a reason before that. I'm like, no, no.
He's like, how innocent can you call a terrorist, really? It's like, well, yeah, he wasn't the one that killed your friend, though. That's why you were going after him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
this.
still,
Sorry,
that is the recorded first time that we've seen blood on the shield in the
the
MCU.
only time so far.
Yes.
Um, So yeah, this. I mean, again, the character did absolutely fine in this film, but the character is not enhanced for me in terms of he hasn't moved up my list of how good the character is. He's just stayed around that same bit. Like I said, maybe slightly less because I felt better for his story at the end of the Winter Soldier. The
Mm,
Falcon and Winter Soldier than I did here. So,
mm.
Brandon asking if we rate the Thunderbolts out of 10 yet? Not yet, buddy. We will get to that. Saw the trailer for the
Ah,
Rogers screening and looked interesting. It's a good film, mate. Yeah.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
Obviously, we've got Valentina,
Yes.
the absolute bitch of the film.
Yep.
Designed to be a character that you want to hate because she's so arrogant and thinks she's got a
Mm-hmm.
plan for everything, and
Mm-hmm.
acts so nonchalant in the face of people who could wipe the floor with her if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I don't think there's much to be said about her. To be fair, she's just a character to hate.
She played a good antagonist. We haven't seen her since Wakanda Forever, and it was good. Yeah, she's very much like a twisted Nick Fury, and how she's assembling teams, working in the background, shadow ops, and everything. We've definitely not seen the last of her at all.
Absolutely, she is going to be back since she is obviously funding the new Avengers, so to speak.
Yes.
Whether they're government funded because she's technically head of the CIA or whatever it is, or
Yeah.
personally funded through the Ox Group. I thought they said
Yes.
Oscorp at the start, but when they said it again, it said Ox, and I was like, okay,
Yeah. I was like, if it was Oscorp, I'd be like,
yeah. I was like, we were told they don't exist in the MCU, the main MCU universe. So,
yeah.
but anyway, Bob.
Bob, and I feel just gonna say I really do feel for Lewis Pullman that it's like your biggest two most iconic roles of your career so far
You've
are
only got
both
Bob,
two characters where you name Bob.
and to be honest, I barely remember him from Top Gun Maverick. Like, it's not like he's a standout character in the film.
No, what else he been in? Nothing I have
Nothing
seen.
significant.
No.
But I thought he did it. Yeah, he does a good job as Robert Reynolds in this film.
Mm.
Maybe the character itself, he felt a bit out of place once he becomes Sentry in the suit and everything, because you go from the guy who's struggling with being alone and doesn't really seem to care if he lives or dies, and is battling against everything to do with that and his mental health, and then Valentina manipulates him to become Sentry. And once he's got that suit and everything, and he's battling the Thunderbolts, first of all, great scene because obviously you just see taking them all down is great.
Yeah, in different ways too. The
Yeah,
fact different ways he took everybody out. I did like how Ghost was like, "Did you dye your hair?"
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that felt a little bit weird because it just felt like not the character of Bob, didn't it? And obviously Valentina pulls the kill switch on him, and he turns into the void.
I'm gonna say this too. I love looking back on it. You watch the trailers and you thought they were blocking out Sentry from seeing his suit. Looking back, I'm like, no, they didn't. That's legit his scenes. That's all the legit scenes. And you were like me and probably every other person were like, oh, they're probably blocking out so you don't see the yellow suits and see him. Like, nah, that's actually what the scene is.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they do like to hide shit in the trailers, don't they? So,
Well, no, that's right. But no, sorry, continue.
no, I was just going to say, obviously, him turning into the void, and at first, obviously, because we saw in the trailer when he's going for people, he just turned them into a shadow, which is as we've also learned is based off the shadows left behind in Hiroshima from the nuclear bomb that was dropped, which is dark.
Yeah. As soon as I read that, I was like,
Yeah, dark.
damn, that just adds a whole nother level to this entire movie.
But what makes it, but obviously you're thinking at first everyone's getting killed because he's just disintegrating them. That's why there's a shadow being left. They're not being put into like the void realm or whatever. And that scene where the Thunderbolts are saving everyone and Red Guardian saves the little girl from the big block of concrete falling on her, and he's like, "You're safe now," and then boom, she just turns into a shadow, and like the whole cinema gasped. And us British, we're very reserved. We don't really like to talk during the cinema, or make too much noise, and the whole cinema gasped at that moment. So that's all going on. Obviously, Yelena lets herself be taken into the void realm, and she's seeing her thing, her stuff,
Which I
and
thought
trying
was
to
a
fight
good
through that.
scene. I thought that was a good scene where she approaches herself as like, that is you. And the fact that her whoops her ass.
Yeah, almost instantaneously as well. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously not expecting it, but just goes to show that obviously the latent trauma that's still there for her in terms of like having to deal with that. But obviously she goes off to find Bob, and the other Thunderbolts turn up as well, and decide to basically tell Bob, and they end up at the lab where Yelena was at the start of the film. and basically Bob is fighting the Void. But what he doesn't realize is that the more he gives in to beating the Void, he's turning into the Void himself, because he's just feeding the emptiness inside of him and the loneliness. And all the rest of them battle to obviously pull him apart and let him know that he's not on his own, that he's got people there to support him, and he's got every reason to keep going. And that was a surprise to me, in terms of that there was no big final battle. Like the only real battle in the whole thing is when obviously they face Sentry, who wipes the floor with them, and then obviously they have that moment where they're saving everyone and people see them as heroes because they're clapping them in the streets. And then there is no big finale in terms of a fight or anything like that, because a lot of people are talking about how are these characters going to take down Sentry.
Well, that's it. That's it, and that I think they did that so well. And going into the Void. Because, like, if this was a bit more MA rating, I think I probably would have seen a little bit of blood of Sentry attacking the Void. Just the way he was hitting him, there should have been, I'd say, if it was the boys, there would have been a lot more blood coming straight up, just because the way he was hitting him. And I do like the fact that, just going into the different worlds, going to different things, and again, going really dark. You think at the start of this film, Bob is just a drug user and an addict, and you're looking like that's your family life. And you're like, damn. And it made me think of Moon Knight. I think it's the second last episode where we get that backstory with him and his mother hitting him and everything. And it's like, damn. So good.
A lot going on for him, but again, them touching on those mature sort of themes that we discussed earlier, and finding a way to use that as the way to solve the issue as opposed to just fighting. A great way to do it. And then obviously the film sort of ends with them going, the Thunderbolts are like, right, we're going to go and get Valentina. And she coaches them and tricks them, and then has a press conference where she announces them. She's been working on putting together a new team, and these are the new Avengers. So this is the Asterisk is gone from Thunderbolts, and they're now the new Avengers. And obviously Yelena is saying, well, we own you now though, bitch, because we've got everything on you. Possibly.
Yeah, we own you now.
But they all of them are yearning for something more, and especially Yelena, who wanted to become a good person and be publicly seen like that instead.
Yes, and again, I know you don't really like Red Guardian, but I did like how he said to her, your sister, she saw that.
Yeah.
And she saw that, and that's why she became an Avenger.
Because he said there's no higher calling than serving the people of
the
country or whatever. So
yeah,
it was a cute way to do it. And then obviously we get the as the credit rolls, we get all these posters. And then maybe articles in magazines and stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
People who the hell are these guys? Are these really are Avengers? These aren't the Avengers and stuff.
Why are they getting called the new Avengers?
Yeah. And then we get to, the mid-credit scene was funny but pointless. It's just Red Guardian in the supermarket trying to make some woman recognize him on a box of cereal, and she doesn't recognize him and then puts the box of cereal down and runs away. But the big post-credit scene. And the last thing is just to chat about the film. So this is
I was going to say, sorry, before you go into that, I got slightly spoiled from that scene, not because of TikTok, not because of any social media at all, because I was watching the credits roll and I was looking at the soundtrack.
Ah, yeah, I did this as well. Because as the music, it was the credits were going, and it was getting the very last bit at the end. It said the theme from Fantastic Four: First Steps. Yeah. My best friend, who I watched the films with, I said to her, I was like, it says their Fantastic Four theme. I was like, I haven't heard that at all in this film, so it must be coming at the end.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that, I was like,
yeah. She was like, your brain's working too quickly to spot these things.
No, it was only because I was just reading down all the soundtrack, and I was like, when was that?
I mean, just mentioning the soundtrack, the fact that they the Pony was obviously in the soundtrack. With that song in the limo, when Red Guardian's in the limo, where they're being chased and he's trying to flick on all the buttons for the stuff, and the music comes on in the background. That was a good funny moment. But yeah, The post-credit scene, it comes up with 14 months later from where we've seen them. They're obviously talking about the fact that they're not really seen by the public as the Avengers because Sam Wilson has gone ahead and put together his own Avengers team, and he's challenging them to be who's the actual Avengers team. He's even copyrighted the name Avengers for his team.
Yes.
And whilst Yelena's talking about the fact that there's some sort of space crisis going on as well, and they were talking about what's going on. Bob's in the corner, and they're like,
Still doesn't have his
can we not
powers."
fly into space?" And he's like, "Nope, because if I let Sentry out, then I have to let the Void out as well." He's like, "But I did do the dishes, so it's all good."
Yeah. And again, I like Red Guy, and we could fly, Bob.
It's just too much. It's too much. Didn't need it. And then they asked to get a satellite image of what's happening in space, and you see this rocket flying through, and the rocket flips over, and it's Fantastic Four, which is where we get the Fantastic Four theme kick in, and that's how it ends. So that's obviously a big setup. And the director revealed as well that he didn't direct that scene. That scene was only done about a month ago in pre-production for Doomsday. So obviously they got together all in new suits, looking pretty sharp, to be fair.
Yes.
I have two things about this scene just to mention. First of all, I'm not 100% convinced. Well, actually, three things. Well, I'll get to the third one last, actually, but the first two ones. First of all, I'm not convinced that's the Fantastic Four in the ship. I think it's Doom.
All right, go on. You're gonna have to elaborate.
Well, that ties into my last point, to be fair. So
Okay,
get the
number
middle one out
two.
first. Middle one. If Sam Wilson's putting together a new team of Avengers who the public are more seeing as the true Avengers, Bucky would go and be part of that team. He has more of a connection with Sam and maybe potentially any original Avengers like Thor and stuff like that than he does with the Thunderbolt team.
Yeah, well,
He didn't know any of them when he put together. He may have been working with them for like 14 months or a year or whatever, but he still has more of a connection with Sam than any other living Avenger, and he would go and be part of that team.
I slightly agree with you, and I slightly disagree in the sense, like, yes, he has that more connection on that side of things, but at the same time, he's got more in common with the Thunderbolts.
Maybe, but I just don't see him. If Sam went, look, I'm putting together a proper Avengers team, not this ragtag bunch that the public don't even like that much and are behind. Especially since he knows everything. He wanted to arrest Valentina and he wanted to put her up on trial and go to prison. And the fact that he decided to negate that just because she made them heroes in the public's eye, the public a year on are questioning this. And they're like, we don't even like you as being the Avengers team. We want Sam Wilson's team to be the Avengers.
Which we don't know, as we're recording this, we don't know who the team is.
Fair. But at the same point, like, I think he would be like, okay, Valentina was screwing everyone over. She should have gone to prison. I decided not to go through with that because she made us the public face. So I think if Bucky stays true to his character, I think he would negate that deal with the Thunderbolts and go, I'm out of here. I'm going to join Sam Wilson. We should put Valentina to prison and you guys should come and help us.
And become the Avengers. Well, I'm hoping we will get some idea on the beginning of the Avengers Doomsday and what the GO is.
Yeah. But then the third point, which kind of ties in with my first point, is that did it a little bit spoil the ending to Fantastic Four already? Like, we kind of knew that their planet was probably going to get destroyed and they were going to end up in the main MCU universe. But by throwing that in and saying, well, the Fantastic Four are already here, does that not then already spoil the ending?
Now, I had the same question when when we watched the end of that movie with the people I went, and I said to him slightly yes and slightly no, because potentially we got the same type of ending that we got in Avengers Infinity War with Captain Marvel. Yep, and he gave me that same look too. At the end of let me just pull back. At the end of Avengers Infinity War, we get the little piece that shows you the little go into how Captain Marvel comes into play this. We basically just, we knew that Fantastic Four was going to team up with the Avengers anyway, because they're going to be in the main timeline. We all knew that was going to happen. That's not because they're meant to be pillars of the MCU moving forward. So essentially, we're still getting that same type of scene with the Fantastic Four going into this.
I think it depends on how they do it in the Fantastic Four film for me, because with Captain Marvel, anyone that knows the character knows is that she's obviously a very powerful character. So having that pager go off with the Captain Marvel like logo on it at the end of Infinity War, is absolutely fine, because obviously we got the film next after that.
Yes, and
And
that's
I
what's
think,
happening with us right
but
now.
I
We're
think
getting
that's kind of
Fantastic
fine,
Four.
because you know that's what's going to happen in terms of we're getting Captain Marvel in Endgame, so they were going to introduce her in the next film. Yep, Fantastic Four is the next Marvel film after this, and we know
Yes.
they're going to end up in the MCU timeline. But in a way, it's
Yes.
kind of like it's spoiled how they're going to arrive, because they were like, would they arrive by multiversal bridge? Are they doing it via ship? How is it all going to happen? And now, this is why I'm like, I think they might have thrown us a slight curveball by having that being a Fantastic Four ship. So, but it's going to have Doom inside instead, because we know that in order for things to happen, I think everyone's agreed Doom will follow the Fantastic Four to the main Marvel universe, which is how he gets there and kicks everything off.
Yes.
But the question is, how do they all make it there now? So I think I think maybe the Fantastic Four come through a slightly different way, and then Doom jumps into the ship to follow them through a multiversal bridge or breach. Or something like that anyway, and that's how it comes. So when they're talking about a space crisis, why would they be talking about a crisis if it's good guys? If
Well,
it's
they don't know
bad
it's good
guys,
guys.
yeah, but they might do. They might not. They might not know the Thunderbolts, but other people might know. I just think it's
No one's gonna know that they're good guys.
yeah, well, we don't know. That's something we don't have the context yet. So what I mean is they
What
could
do
have
you
arrived.
mean?
They could have arrived differently, in the fact that
Oh,
Fantastic
no,
Four
no.
could have. What I mean is the Fantastic Four, if they'd arrived by like a multiversal bridge, but like as a group individually through a bubble or a different mode of transport, they could have already
Sorry.
arrived, and then Doom's followed them through in the ship, and that's what the crisis is, because they're already like, this is the bad guy coming.
Well, that's exactly right. You could have the fact that the Fantastic Four, they rock up, they meet the other Avengers team, and then at the same time we get a split video
Yeah.
where the Avengers team see the ship, and then Reed Richards goes, "That's Doom."
Exactly. That's my point. So that's why I think it could be a slight red herring, and it could be. That's my theory anyway. My theories normally suck, so let's not read too much into it. But I think that could be a red herring, and that's Doom in the ship rather than the Fantastic Four. It was just a way to bring the fact that they had to somehow start linking everything into Doomsday, and the only way to do that was through a post-credit scene, by having what the Thunderbolts are doing at the time, or the New Avengers, I should now say, at the time of when Doomsday kicks off. So that's my theory anyway. That's why it's connected that way.
No, you could be right, but I was saying to my friends like, oh, is that too spoiled? I'm like, well, we still get this. It's the same kind of thing with Captain Marvel. We got the cameo. We got the after credit scene. We got the mirror movie explaining how she finally rocks up and how that all works in together with that, and then we got the Avengers Endgame with her in it. Boom, let's go, done, and. It does look to be the fact that Galactus is going to wreck up their world and they have to leave their world entirely because of what's happening. And Galactus eats their world.
I think that's probably a safe bet. That's what I'm anticipating anyway. But
yeah,
that's what
I mean too.
Nice to see a tie into Doomsday. It's all coming together now.
Yes,
Fantastic Four is going to be the big tie into it.
It is.
What rating are you giving Thunderbolts?
Well, if you looked at my Letterboxd review, out of 5, I gave Thunderbolts 4.5 stars.
And yet he only gave Sinners a 3, everyone. So take his reviews with a pinch of salt.
No. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's because Thunderbolts, I was blown away. I watched Sinners, and at the end of it, I was like, that was good. Not great. It was good. Solid.
4.5 out of 5 is really high.
Oh well, no, I think it earned it. Like there wasn't much to it. Like I really thought about it. Like there isn't really much that I would do differently or didn't like, especially coming off the back of Captain America 4. Like that's this is such a bigger improvement. It's a much more grounded story. Yes, I know people are going to be saying it's Marvel of the old or the best. I knew this was going to happen. And I hate this comment. I hate it so much. Is when people say, "Oh, it's the best thing since Endgame." I'm like,
yeah.
Do you motherfuckers forget the fact that we've had Spider-Man No Way Home?
I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, when I try and rate things, because I normally do it out of 10, but I think that when you get into eight to 10, for example, is the range of things where you're rating stuff. That means it's fucking awesome, because I think
This
people
was fucking awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, what I mean is, in terms of people rate it highly, they forget how high out of 10 8 to 10 is. That's like the fucking top end of everything. And if I personally was to rate this film, I don't think it doesn't crack the top 10 of Marvel films. I mean, if you're talking about 36, was it 36 films and what, like 6, 7 series?
It's better
So
than
we're talking 40 plus things that Marvel have got.
Yeah.
This doesn't crack top 10.
Let's just focus on movies. I would. Okay,
I'm not going to get into a top 10 debate right now either.
No.
But for me, it doesn't crack into a top 10, and putting it anywhere from, like, say 4.5 out of 5 stars, or if I was to rate it, say 8.5 and above out of 10, that to me would indicate it's a top tier Marvel film. I don't think it quite reaches that high.
All right, slightly going backwards. I will say it's better than Cap 4. It's better than the Marvels. It's better than Ant-Man 3. It's better than Thor: Love and Thunder. It's better than Eternals. It's better than Black Widow. It's better than Ant-Man the Wasp. It's better than... I'd say it's better than Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's better than Thor: The Dark World. I would say it's better than Iron Man 3, and that's where I stop.
It's definitely not in the worst, and it should be in the top third of Marvel films. I just think I always just think I got too generous with my ratings, and so I have to pan back and think realistically, like, you know, no film's ever going to be a 10 out of 10. I doubt any film even comes close to being like a 9.5 out of 10. Most films should be rated under a 9.5, because that means they're ridiculously perfect if they're 9.5 and above.
Oppenheimer.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I don't have 4 hours to waste. Sorry.
It's 3.
It's on my list to watch, mate. You know me. I'm sometimes everything outside of sci-fi and superheroes. It takes me a while to get to sometimes. But yeah, I would give this I would give it 8.2 out of 10.
So I think 5 stars.
We're talking about a 3.9 out of 5.
So a 4. Okay.
Well, below a 4, 3.9. I think some characters were maintained their levels. They didn't. It's not a 4. I just said 3.9. It's not 4. I just think some characters could have maybe done with a bit more improvement if you wanted them to be viewed better, or an improvement on where we've previously seen them. And it's a personal thing, obviously. Red Guardian a bit too much for my personal liking. I thought I liked how they tackled the mature themes, but kept it light with comic relief, and an interesting way to end a film, doing it through like a mental health way rather than a fight to the death type thing.
A CGI fight and a giant beam pointing to the sky.
Exactly. So yeah, good. It is a good film. There's no doubting that it isn't. There's no saying that it isn't a good film. I think there are definitely improvements.
Let me put it like this: are you excited to see this team in Avengers Doomsday?
I'm excited to see some characters, not the team.
Okay.
If Ghost, Red Guardian, and John Walker, US Agent, didn't appear in Doomsday, I don't think I'd care.
Oh, really? I'm looking forward to seeing what Ghost can do, and I'm looking forward to John Walker going up to Captain America
Yelena,
and being like,
Bucky and Bob are the ones that I would care about most about seeing again.
See, Bob's going to be interesting. Like, what's going to be the part that ticks him over to becoming?
Oh, we know it's going to happen.
Century.
So.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I think maybe losing someone like if Yelena got killed off.
She won't know. She won't die. She won't die.
No, I know, but like you can have them die and then resurrect them in Secret Wars.
That's true.
So if like that can make him come out of his shell, I think, or get him back into it. Something happening to the new Avengers team anyway was going to kick him off, I think. So yeah, if half of them didn't exist again, I wouldn't care. If the other half disappeared, I'd maybe be like, especially Bucky. You can't really kick out Bucky. So. So yeah, either way, that's why I'm saying I wouldn't be fussed if those 3 characters weren't in Doomsday and Secret Wars. I wouldn't really miss them. So you could say that about a handful of people in current MCU status. So
That's true. And look, it is wild to think the fact that the next 4 MCU movies that we are getting is Fantastic Four, Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man Brand New Day, and Avengers Secret Wars. Like that's mental.
Absolutely mental. And we'll still get like Daredevil season, Born Against
Oh
season
yeah.
3
Oh my
from
god.
that as well.
Next year it's Daredevil season 2, X-Men 97 season 2, and there's something else that's getting season 2 that Fallout season 2. I'm
The
sure there's
Boys, final season of The Boys is
the
next year.
Boys, the final season, the Friendly Neighborhood, Spider-Man season 2, like, and then now, which I was gutted,
Mandalorian and Grogu.
Mandalorian Grogu. GTA 6, unfortunately, is now coming out May 2026. I've already told Mrs. Rand, I'm like, you just might as well not see me for May entirely.
So a lot to come next year, but in terms of seeing this group back, yeah, as a whole, yeah, okay, fine. I've got no problem with all of them coming back. I just prefer some characters over others. I think is how I view it. So
Also, sorry, side note, I'm just looking at Wikipedia. Disney has scheduled additional release dates for unannounced Marvel Studio films on Feb 13th and November the 6th in 2026.
that could be anything. That might be animated stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean film stuff, does it?
No, it just says Marvel Studios films.
Yeah. Well, okay.
That films. So essentially, that would basically be very similar to what we're getting this year, where we get a Marvel movie in Feb, the May, and then one at the end of the year. And I doubt that one of them is going to be Blade.
No, is it fuck?
Yeah.
Okay,
And look,
so that's right, you Karen.
I was going to say, well, it would be interesting at D23 or Comic Con this year to see if they're going to announce any those 2 movies. It won't be until Comic Con or D23 next year in 2026 when we get the official announcement for the next phase, which I have no doubt will be my big out there. The next big bad for the MCU will be Apocalypse.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson coming to the MCU near you.
Oh God, yeah, no. Now you need somebody else. Get Tom Cruise.
Yeah, good. We've already had a short Apocalypse. I don't think they want another one.
Yeah, oh, touche.
That brings us to the end of some Andor chat and some Thunderbolts / New Avengers chat as well.
Yes.
Leigh, thank you very much, buddy. I absolutely massively appreciate it. As always, jumping on at the last minute just because I couldn't be asked to talk to myself. So I absolutely really appreciate it.
I do it all the time. Sometimes you just need expert advice, man.
Yeah, it's what the mirror is for at home, to be fair. So, but I genuinely really appreciate it. Tell everyone again exactly where we can find your podcast, your merch, everything.
As always, if you type in Lights Camera Rant into your search engines on both social media and where you get local podcasts, we rock up. We go live every Sunday. We have new episodes every single Tuesday. We're currently at a 206 episode streak at the moment, which is utterly insane when I say it out loud. And we are ranting and raving and reviewing all the latest movies, TV shows, and video games. And now I can add to my official resume, Disney and Marvel premierist. I don't think it's the right word, but yeah.
Get onto Instagram if you want to see some pictures and of everything of Leigh attending that premiere. But absolutely amazing. And to be fair, he's wearing the same hoodie that I've got.
Yeah, boy. That's why I wore it.
The white Lights Camera Rant one. So I thought about wearing a hat for today, but I'm like, oh, this is my show, not yours. So I'm saving the hat for when I'm on your show. Speaking of which, if you want to get your hands on some GCP merch, just like this one here,
do it.
Get yourself onto my social media links, which you'll find the links for both of our podcasts and social media in the description for the episode. Make sure you're jumping on. Next week, we're back for more Andor chat. I'm going to be joined by Caleb from Why So Sidious. He missed out on the anniversary episode, so he said he would make it up to me and come on to do some Andor chat. Then we've got, obviously, I might do a quick review at some point for Tales of the Underworld, the Star Wars show that comes out tomorrow for May the 4th. Happy Star Wars Day to everyone for that as well.
Yep.
No special for myself for this year, but obviously, like I said, if you want to find out what some of the best scenes in Star Wars are for me and Dave from My Sister Is, catch my one from last year. It's absolutely worth it, I promise you. And then for the finale of Andor, I'm going to be here with the Bitches of Dathomir podcast. They came on for The Acolyte. It was one of my biggest viewed and most controversial episodes to date, simply because it was The Acolyte. That was the only reason for it. Got a lot of hate in the comments, believe me. Apparently I'm a paid Disney shill.
Really?
To give the yeah, that's why I'm sat here doing a podcast to like 10 people, because I'm paid by Disney.
Yeah. No. It's no, look, if you like The Acolyte, that's totally fine. But if you like art and good quality, then you know where to go.
I like bits of it. I was saying I like everything.
No, so did I. I like bits of it, but it was pretty much like for me, an off banana with sprinkles and whipped cream on top, and someone goes, "Yeah, you'll enjoy that."
Yeah. Well, anyway, the Bitches of Dathomir will be on to review the final of Andor. They're a great chat as well. They're a good laugh, and I'll be chatting to them as well about the fact that they went to Star Wars Celebration in Japan. And they had some great cosplays as well. So don't miss out on that chat, because that's going to be really good to recap with them. But that's it for this week. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll be back next week. But as always, please, all of you.
The Force will be with you. Always.
Thanks for tuning in to the Galactic Core Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. But until next time, go get your geek on.